Welcome to everybody who are joining us in our meeting today. It's great to see so many people on screen. My name is Miles Hansen. For those who haven't joined our previous sessions, I'm the president and CEO of World Trade Center Utah. And welcome to this, our third session of our virtual trade mission to Canada. We started the morning with a market briefing and overview. We just wrapped up a few minutes ago a breakout session focused on the life science industry. And now, of course, we're all tuning in to learn about advanced manufacturing in Canada and the many opportunities that exist between Utah and Canada to grow and expand this industry that is so important, not just to Canada and Utah, but to the global economy as we move forward in the years and the decades to come. I want to be very, very brief with this introduction. We've got some great speakers to be with us that are with us today. But at the top, I just wanted to recognize our partners on this virtual trade mission to Canada, but specifically on this advanced manufacturing breakout session. I'm very grateful to one of our strategic partners here in the state of Utah, the Utah Advanced Manufacturing and Materials Initiative. UAMI is how we refer to it here in Utah. They're a great partner of ours, World Trade Center Utah, and a great force for good here in the state of Utah. We're also grateful to our other Utah partners, the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce and the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And we are particularly grateful for our Canadian partners, the Consulate General in Denver, Invest Canada, Toronto Global, Vancouver Economic Commission, and Montreal International. As you can tell for everybody tuning in, we have many partners all working together to help build relationships, understanding about the good things happening in advanced manufacturing in Utah as well as in Canada. And I'll kick things off with the same call to action I've done on the other sessions, in that we don't judge our success by the quality of the information that will be shared today. That quality will be very, very good. We've got some phenomenal speakers. But we'll judge our success on the positive action that happens after the fact. And so I want everybody to get to know Courtney Ray. If you don't, she will be the one that will be one. We have her to thank for pulling all this together. And she's also going to be the one leading out on following up. And so please shoot her your questions throughout the session. She can help arrange for the Q&A, help make sure your questions are asked during the Q&A, but also follow up with her afterwards so she can understand what your opportunities are in Canada, what you're looking for, and she can work with these great partners that we have with us to ensure that you can connect with people you need to connect with. So without further ado, let's jump into our program. First, we will have a national industry overview. After that, Courtney will lead a panel discussion with our panelists from Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Our speaker on the national overview is Jordan Robertson. Jordan is the Vice President of Business Development for StackTech, a global leader in injection mold technology. And Jordan's got close to 3 decades experience working in advanced manufacturing and materials. He is a member of the Plastics Industry Association's Rigid Plastic Packaging Group, and he's on the executive committee, and he's also a board member of the In-Mold Decorating Association since 2005. So somebody who's plugged in not only with his individual companies, but across Canada and is ideally situated to help us understand a little bit more about Canada's advanced manufacturing industry. So Jordan, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you. And when you finish up, Courtney will jump in and lead us out on our panel discussion. So again, thank you to everyone for being with us. And Jordan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Miles. Thank you for the introduction and the bio. One thing I'll just add to it is that I am a mechanical engineer, and just thinking about what I prepared for this, I'm thinking it's of course how I see the world in Canada through the eyes of a mechanical engineer. Canada has 1.7 million manufacturing jobs, and Canada is ranked as 5th in the world for marketing automation, and is in the top 10 countries for 3D printing. One of the largest manufacturing sectors in Canada is automotive, which is a very wide-ranging, multidisciplinary, and progressive innovators in the global industry. And one of the drivers, of course, in advanced manufacturing is innovation. And at a national level, I think I have to say here some of the things I'm going to be saying on my section about Toronto later on. In order to innovate, you need industry-leading technology. You need people who can fully grasp why technology is the way it is and work to advance the state of the art. And one of the great assets in Canada is a broad range of engineering schools that have graduates available to the industry and enable any program or any technological development that you may wish to take on. There is a wealth of technical expertise that is available, and for other aspects of this, other disciplines, other functions with respect to technology, there is a substantial workforce, and you'll hear more from me later on about. I work in the plastics industry, making some of the most sophisticated plastic injection molds in the plastics industry. However, I long ago in my past, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, I spent 5 years working in the steel industry, working on a project to install a major capital investment of a cold rolling mill in Hamilton, Ontario, where the purpose of the mill was to produce exterior sheet metal for automotive exterior body panels. And in a project that size involving hundreds of technical people, I had the opportunity to see both in terms of local consultants coming in, the employees. I mean, I was in a company with 13,000 employees and an engineering staff of more than 250 people. And yet we had to double the size of the engineering team with contractors being brought in from engineering consulting firms based in Canada. And the fact that Canada manages to rank so well, particularly with respect to manufacturing costs, as one of the things that is pointed to for the success and the reason why the number of cars produced in Canada per capita is very high, goes back to many of those enabling factors. And as I think you'll see in all three of the presentations today that are specific to regions of Canada, there absolutely is, there are a lot of good reasons why there already is a tremendous focus on advanced manufacturing in Canada, and a lot of, I have a lot of optimism to see even more of it in the future. So Courtney, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Sorry to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Jordan. I appreciated that. So we're going to head over to our panel speakers who are going to speak more specifically about cities, briefly mention what they're doing in their companies, but also talk about some of the benefits of being in their cities, which are Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Our first speaker will be Mark Radford. Mark is the COO of LMI Technologies. As Chief Operating Officer, he's responsible for overseeing LMI's entire supply chain, as well as the engineering and quality functions. With LMI since 2006, Mark has held the roles of R&D engineer, R&D manager, director of technology, and director of operations. He was also part of the development team behind the original GoCater sensor and has played a central role in defining how LMI's core technology base is applied to new markets and applications. He's focused on scaling LMI's production levels and improving quality across all product lines. He holds a Bachelor of Applied Science in Engineering Physics from the University of British Columbia. Go ahead, Mark, take it away.
Thanks, Courtney. Yeah, just get my screen up here. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. All right, so thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm Mark Radford from LMI Technologies. And I'm going to talk just first a little bit about what LMI does. So LMI is a world leader in inline 3D scanning and inspection. So essentially we build sensors that enable our users to digitize the parts going on production lines. And this can be for the purpose of automation. So for example, adding vision to robotics. It can be for quality control purposes to essentially inspect either specific features on parts or the overall part, or it can be for general optimization, so portioning or cutting of materials or improving the outcome of some event. So just to run through some specific examples, this can be used in food processing optimization, so looking for defects, for monitoring characteristics of the output of a machine, or just in general food handling. Obviously with the switch to COVID, there's a lot happening in the world of logistics and automating that. So We work in terms of box volume gauging, as well as just vision for robots for handling of those packages. Generic pick and place for robots within production lines to transfer parts from one status to another, as well as, you know, inspection of specific parts. So we've done a lot of work in the automotive industry and rubber and tire for inspecting either components of tires or the finished tire for tread and defects in the overall construction. You know, earlier Jordan talked a little bit about the automotive industry in Canada and the use of automation and improving there. So this is another area where we get involved in terms of helping provide vision guidance to robots to help them move parts around or even aid in the assembly and alignment. And then we get at the other end of the spectrum into looking for, you know, very, very small defects and things like voids in medical package seal inspection, or, you know, defects in specific parts. Again, this is in the world of cars. So LMI is headquartered in Vancouver, but we're a global company. We have offices in 11 different countries around the world, and then 60 plus distributors covering the rest of the world for us. And again, we're very fortunate to call Vancouver our home. It's an absolutely fabulous city with a great quality of life. It's a beautiful city. There's lots to do. It's consistently ranked one of the best places in the world to live. But it's also got, you know, a lot of factors that help us to be successful calling this our home. So we actually manufacture most of our products here in Vancouver, which is somewhat unique for a company of our size, particularly when you start getting into optical manufacturing, electronic manufacturing. These are activities that are often transferred to lower cost centers, but we've found ways to be competitive and really believe in using technology and automation to improve our competitive advantage in this area. So overall, why Vancouver? I'm going to now sort of talk a little bit about Vancouver as well as the province of British Columbia in which we're based. Vancouver is Canada's third largest city. There's a population of about 2.5 million, which is about half the population of British Columbia at 5 million people. It's also the 5th largest port in North America and the 3rd largest on the West Coast, essentially behind Los Angeles. And you know, manufacturing has always been a huge part of BC overall. There's approximately 13,000 manufacturers employing about 180,000 people directly and 400,000 people indirectly. And this has really been an evolution of British Columbia's history, really starting off as a resource center in the areas of forestry and mining, and then growing from there to start adding additional aspects or value adds in that process. And so looking at things like wood products and the manufacturing of those wood products. And from there, the industry has grown to create new and unique opportunities for different companies here. Overall, 68% of our exports come from manufacturing here, and it represents almost 11% of our provincial GDP. So who are our biggest manufacturers? I've got a long list here of the top manufacturers, and I'll talk a little bit about the different industries. You know, starting at the top left, we have Seaspan, who's a major shipbuilder. So they're doing everything from smaller systems in terms of, you know, barges and tugboats all the way up through large commercial vessels. There's a number of companies on this list that work in building products, such as Starline Windows, Garibaldi Glass. So these are large commercial glass companies that are really supplying not just to the local market, but really to North America as a whole. You know, going along the top line, we have Arc'teryx, which is a high performance outdoor wear company. So this is premium level outdoor gear for a number of different, I guess, activities, you could put it. We have Creation Technologies, which is one of the world's largest EMS providers for electronic manufacturing. We have Whitewater West, who builds amusement parks and water park equipment. We have Ballard Technologies, who's a world leader in the innovation of fuel cells for both commercial transport, passenger vehicles, as well as backup power generation. So they're headquartered in Vancouver and have a number of spin-offs working with large automotive brands such as, Audi and Mercedes here. And then, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but we also have companies like Weyerhaeuser and Rich Ply, again, in the forestry products industry, as well as some more electronics companies like Delta Controls, FLIR Systems, their machine vision camera divisions headquartered in Vancouver, as well as Philip Lighting's LED division. So what makes Vancouver great? Well, I'm a firm believer that great employees make great companies, both just simply from their ability to innovate and perform, but also in terms of their ability to just maintain a competitive advantage. And a lot of that comes from the world-class education. Again, Jordan spoke about this earlier, but here in Vancouver, we're very lucky to have two incredible universities. The first is the University of British Columbia, which is where I attended. It's consistently ranked in the top 50 in the world and is a very large university with over 66,000 students. Sorry, I just realized I have a typo in my presentation. We also have Simon Fraser, they're top 300 in the world. They don't have 66,000 students like UBC, they have about 35,000. And then there's a large number of smaller colleges and universities around the province, which account for nearly another 100,000 students at any one time. So on an annual basis, we have this huge amount of talent entering the workforce every single year locally. They've come to British Columbia because they like the city, they like the environment, and many of them want to stay here and work here. And so these schools attract not only local talent, but a lot of international talent as well. So along with these schools, we're actually at UBC, there's an entire institute dedicated to advanced materials and manufacturing, which is really designed to create an international leadership position in these areas. So looking at composites and virtual machining, mixed reality robotics, advanced material processing, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, as well as digital modeling techniques. And so, building upon that basis of your basic, undergraduate or postgrad work, you have, a dedicated leadership center to advancing these techniques. And then as a result, you get a lot of spin-off companies forming as a result. I see a lot of overlap actually between the tech industry as a whole, is strongly described, in advanced manufacturing. I think really when we look at what separates advanced manufacturing from manufacturing, it's the introduction of new technology to drive it up. So I'll just briefly talk about the tech cluster as well here in Vancouver. Again, there's over 123,000 jobs in tech. It represents about 7%. And is those high number of startups as well as the general climate with education has driven a lot of companies to open up major offices here. Amazon's got a large software development center in Vancouver. They've only been here for a couple of years, and they're on a growth path to essentially add about 2,000 to 3,000 employees every year to their workforce here in Vancouver. EA Games has been headquartered here for many, many years. And then likely, or like Amazon, Microsoft, Salesforce, and SAP also have large offices here. So, what drives companies like this to set up in Canada beyond the tech aspect? Well, I think the one side of it is the R&D funding available in Canada for development. So there's two key programs here that I see as being instrumental for advanced manufacturing. The first is Canada's Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credit Program. So depending on the type of program, this can either be a refundable tax credit or just simply a deferrable tax credit. As well as the National Resource Council of Canada runs an industrial research assistance program where grants and other funding are available for research into the areas of industrial activities, including manufacturing. And then just in general, given the currency difference between the US and Canada, salaries here are lower than other tech markets. You're looking at probably 25 to 30% lower than, let's say, Seattle, and up to 50% lower than the San Francisco Bay Area. So, the high amount of skill available in this market combined with the lower salaries is a good recipe for companies to move to Vancouver and invest in starting operations there. So thanks for your time. Hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about Vancouver.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was really helpful. Appreciate that. So now we will go back to Jordan Robertson, where he will speak about Toronto and his company. Go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you very much. I'm just sharing my slide. Yes, I'd like to follow up and comment on Ontario and the Toronto area. I'm speaking to you from my office in Brampton, Ontario, which is about 10 minutes north of Toronto International Airport. These are two facilities that we moved into in 2001. They were newly built at that time. In the top right, you see some of the most advanced milling and machining equipment with high-speed spindles that rotate at about 50,000 RPM, or approaching 10 times the speed of how fast the crankshaft turns in your car. And then in the bottom right, a range of injection molding machines that we use to test our molds, and those are the top highest performance brands in the industry, including in the foreground you see a Husky machine. That machine was built in Canada, and there's a bigger model, the yellow one, further back in that view. We also have, our business has been for 50 years building injection molds like the one shown in the top right corner. In 1991, we introduced the world's very first 4-level stack mold, more than doubling the output of any other format of injection mold used previously in the industry for a very high volume packaging item. We have 250 employees based in Canada, and generally speaking, we're a small to medium-sized company. However, in the world of plastic injection molds like the one shown here, we are a very well recognized brand and can point to innovations and leadership in the global industry like none other. We're showing here a third building which we opened up last year, and it's for automation. We're showing in the bottom right a robot that places a label for decoration into the mold before you mold the plastic in the mold, and so the part comes out with the decoration bonded already to, in this case, it would be a pail. And this is symptomatic of what's going on in the industry. We've got about 10 of our 250 people are in this business unit now building automation that will both provide value-add decoration as well as taking the part out of the injection molding machine. Using disciplines and capabilities are very different from designing the steel components of a plastic injection mold. These are the ranges of applications that we are building high cavitation tooling for. We build molds up to 128 cavities, meaning every time a machine opens and closes, there are 128 plastic products molded and made. From ice cream containers to cutlery to these are margarine tubs and lids, and then basically anything you would call a cap or closure, including a lot of personal care, pharma, medical, liquid detergent, and of course beverage. We were at a crossroads in 2001. We selected a new location. In fact, we consist of two companies that existed before StackTech that merged together in 2001. We chose the new facility, and we chose where we are right now in 2001 based on a variety of criteria. One was just being 10 minutes from Toronto International Airport. The business that we're in pre-COVID it includes a lot of technical meetings. It includes a lot of project management. Our product, the mold, has to embody the shape of our customers' product. So we need a very detailed understanding of what it is that they put into their product design and what it needs to achieve. And so that means a lot of face-to-face meetings, which are now largely happening on Zoom instead. But going forward, long-term, we expect that the travel will resume. And that location being close to the airport is extremely useful. We typically are qualifying our products in our test room, the machines that we saw earlier, And typically, customers are traveling. They want to actually hold the warm plastic parts in their hands that have just come out of the molding press as a part of accepting the product. We ship molds all over the world. Over 95% of what we build ships outside of Canada. And we need the strong logistical resources depending on how much of a rush we're in project by project. We could be shipping by ocean or we could be shipping by air, even if that involves a substantial fee, just because the schedule is so very important in a lot of the projects that we build. One of the pillars of our business is the strong technical strength that we can get in this area, as I mentioned earlier on in the national presentation, in particular for engineering, but of course all technical disciplines come into play when you talk about both precision tooling as well as high-speed automation. And in the tooling in particular, there is a concentration in the Ontario area because of the concentration in automotive, in aerospace, and the plastics industry surrounding southern Ontario. There is a significant number of experienced machinists who are capable of handling the state-of-the-art technology, and that's very important to us, having access to that kind of talent, because we're in the need to be at the forefront of our sector. To echo the comments about Vancouver, Toronto is also routinely recognized as one of the nicest places to live in the world, and that helps us to attract talent. That helps us to effectively show off the city somewhat, and that's an important part of having, when you have international visitors coming in on a regular basis, being able to entertain them and have them enjoy the time that they spend while visiting us here is another integral part of why we've chosen to be here. So I'll pass it back over to you, Courtney.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Jordan.
Thank you.
Lastly, we will hear from Frans Santelami. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And he is the President and Chief Operating Officer of LeddarTech. And he is an engineer, innovator, and internationally recognized expert in advanced technologies. Frans has over 21 years of experience in the electronics and automotive sector with specialized knowledge in autonomous driving, AI, and automation applications, in addition to business and product development, applications engineering, global sales, and marketing. He's co-founder of Group 3737, an incubator and innovation center that houses more than 30 companies and startups. Let's see. Frans has, throughout his career, he's produced numerous patents and technological innovations. He holds a degree in electrical engineering, business and marketing, and is also a graduate of the MIT Sloan Engineering Fellows Program on innovations and global leadership. And that's just part of his bio. He's got many, many accomplishments. So I'm gonna let you take it away, Frans, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for this introduction. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Great. So thank you for this opportunity to present to you Montreal. I'm not going to go through my background. Suffice to say that I do have experience in the advanced manufacturing space, particularly in areas of semiconductors. Maybe quickly on LeddarTech. For those of you who have not heard of LeddarTech, we are what I would call a late stage startup. Founded in 2007 as a research from the National Institute of Optics in Quebec City. And this was a mandate by the Canadian government to look at using high bright, high power LEDs as a means for detection and ranging. And so LeddarTech was born out of that. Today, LeddarTech, we are in 8 different countries. We're over 200 strong. We provide essentially advanced sensing solutions for enabling ADAS and autonomous driving. What we supply is a suite of SoCs together with advanced signal processing library. We've added on top of that perception stack and sensor fusion. And then we work with our customers to really integrate our solutions into their ADAS or AD platforms. We have customers from all over the world. Our value proposition is really we offer an open and scalable solution that can enable the customers to innovate on top of our technology. So what this means is most automobiles today comes primarily right out of the production lot with camera, in some cases, camera and radar, in most cases. And for the foreseeable future, although we talk a lot about autonomous driving, the passenger car for the next 15 to 20 years from now will be largely driven by what we call level 1, level 2, and level 3 autonomy. So embedded with camera, radar, and ultimately LiDAR technology. And then we have a subsegment which is called the mobility markets, mostly shuttles, autonomous delivery vehicles, commercial, off-roading, applications where the business model justifies autonomy, even though the cost of adding more autonomy is more expensive, but the business model justifies it. So you can operate the vehicle 24/7. So advanced autonomy or full autonomy is quite needed. So what we offer really here is provide the extensibility from level 1 to level 3 to level 4 and level 5. This is really good for the customers because they can build on what they have built at each level and not having to redeploy or re-verify and validate across the need when they add more features. And so today, as I mentioned earlier, we provide a suite of semiconductors or system on a chip devices, and we enable our customers with reference designs, with software to help them build their applications, as well as unique components that enables them to mix and match best of breed. That flexibility is important because, of course, we don't want the customers to have to redesign every single time they add features. And so giving them a white box approach allows them to build on top of our platform. So essentially what this means is we can offer customers solutions that can leverage the existing hardware, the existing camera radar solutions through our perception stack, or even adding on top of that full stack fusion to give them a path to enable them a faster path or a seamless path to autonomous vehicles. So some of our customers actually cover both, but in most cases, customers are looking for step function, incremental path to more autonomy, more active safety. Some of you may already have vehicles that are equipped with these types of technologies today, such as lane warning departure, harsh braking, emergency steering. But then in the future, you're going to think about applications such as traffic jam pilot, traffic jam assist, highway pilot, city assist, city pilot, autonomous valet parking, functions that will enable and augment the safety of the vehicle, but also enable the passengers or the drivers to take their hands and eyes off of the vehicle, or in the mobility space to really have a shared mobility. So speaking of manufacturing, I think the whole Montreal, Canada in general, has a vibrant manufacturing and technology ecosystem. We obviously benefit from a lot of the traction that happens in the US, but at the same token, we have an ecosystem that's really well established. If you look at the automotive sector, in general, we have a vibrant and growing auto tech industry, although we don't do the traditional manufacturing in the sense like we used to in the past. We've evolved to more providing core building blocks that enable electrification, connectivity, shared mobility, and also automated mobility. And this really, as you can see, there's a growing vibrancy here in the tech, and that's in the ecosystem here. And that's largely supported by you know, the province of Quebec and Montreal's recognition as an artificial intelligence hub. And this is quite important as we evolve to a greater intelligence in advanced manufacturing. You know, being able to leverage machine learning, computer vision, sensors, optics, aeronautics, you know, adverse weather, you know, gaming, robotics. I mean, we have a very, very strong vibrancy in this ecosystem here that enables us to actually attract the best of the talents in the world. But also the city of Montreal offers an incredible quality of life and diversity of talent that really makes it unique in that sense. So, you know, if we profile a little bit further on the artificial intelligence, you can see there's a very strong ecosystem around a collaborative ecosystem that is based on leveraging our universities, leveraging incubators, but also leveraging established organizations such as Google, such as you know, players like IBM that have been installed here, Facebook, Denso, Huawei, Samsung, a number of large companies that have established to take advantage of this unique talent. But we also have a strong heritage, obviously, in the aerospace, as well in the telecom space that really we've leveraged that. But the core of what you can see here is that we've got an established you know, groundworks that have been built over several decades of expertise in artificial intelligence, and that enables us to really accelerate deployments across a number of industries, across a number of applications. And then, of course, we have pretty generous R&D tax credits, you know, that supports the ecosystem here. It's a growing economy, of course, that's pre-COVID. You know, if you're thinking of establishing yourself for manufacturing in a particular location, there are things that really matters. Infrastructure. We have a very stable infrastructure, both from electricity, from telecom to road infrastructure, really well established. But also we have, you know, direct access to Europe and Asia Pacific. In fact, you know, Montreal is known as somewhat a European city in North America. The city is known for its vibrancy based on its university. There's 18 universities and colleges, which also creates this unique pipeline of talent that's not only coming from the province or Canada, but also internationally. We have unique relationships between France, Switzerland, Belgium, the Francophone countries in Africa, and the Middle East. And then, of course, we have unique advanced packaging. As you're thinking about manufacturing, you have to be able to have unique ecosystem around the packaging side as well. This offers really a strong foundation where we can you can leverage to build on. That's it. Turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, France. Really appreciate it. You all did a great job. Thank you. So we'll move on to the Q&A now, and anyone feel free to add some questions in the chat function. So let's start first with so a question about carbon composites. So Utah has a very strong carbon composites history, especially with manufacturing and aerospace. Can you please describe Canada's dealing in the carbon composite space and what form of collaboration, if any, you think there might be between Utah and Canada? We deal with a lot of, I'm not sure if you know, we make a lot of airplane parts. Boeing picked Utah suppliers to make most of the 787 parts, et cetera, but we do a lot in aerospace. So I'm not sure who has the most experience in that, but feel free to dive in and comment.
Yeah. Go ahead, France.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, thank you. I guess I just want to talk to just the general subject of reducing energy use in the marketplace. As I mentioned earlier on, we are significant players in the plastics industry. And that industry has seen a very significant changeover in technologies of the machinery used in plants. These are very clean plants. Typically, there are somewhere between dozens and hundreds of individual manufacturing cells neatly organized across a floor. And the injection molding machines that are molding all these products have gone through, in the last 20 years or so, have gone through a wholesale change from hydraulically actuated devices, which are inherently inefficient with respect to energy. And today, well over half of those cells are based on direct electric drives that significantly reduces the energy used to do exactly the same thing. And that trend continues. And so, especially for the higher performance applications, the more challenging applications for which our molds are made, that's where most of the hydraulic machines still are, and we continue to work every day to reduce the amount of energy being used and to take advantage of the electrical drives available and to make it feasible to use that technology to reduce carbon footprint.
Okay. Franz, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I was going to say that, you know, we also, I mean, Canada in general, we are resource-rich country. You know, to build any sustainable manufacturing, you need access to base materials. And whether that's from British Columbia to Alberta to Ontario to Quebec to the Maritimes, we have base materials that are necessary to reduce the cost, but also reduce the complexity of having to deal with Asia for base materials, or even with Eastern Europe. So that's a significant advantage, and of course it's one of the biggest exports we have between Canada and the US.
That's great. Well, this is sort of, I guess, related in some respects to this, but one of the largest part of Utah's advanced manufacturing is renewable energy. Have you transformed your non-renewable energy into renewables, and what are Canada's goals in that? So if anyone else wants to add to that or comment on that, Mark, do you want to?
Sure, I can jump in there. I think at least on the West Coast here in British Columbia, we've been largely renewable energy based for a long time. Essentially, British Columbia is a land of mountains and rivers, and so we've been on hydropower for the past 30 years, with essentially all of our excess power being exported largely down to California and other places. So while there's definitely a push for renewable energy here in British Columbia, you know, on a large scale from a power generation point of view, we're now starting to see more wind energy come into play. I think hydropower is a little bit more controversial than it used to be in terms of setting up dams and changing water courses. And so there's definitely a shift now towards wind power, and to a certain point also a lot of research and startups looking into wave energy. From the infrastructure, I mean, I talked a little bit earlier about Ballard and fuel cells. I think that's the other big push here. You know, we're now up to, I think, 4 hydrogen fuel stations for passenger vehicles in Vancouver alone. And so we're starting to see a big push on electrification of vehicles, both with batteries and now also with fuel cells as well. So there's a lot of activity happening in that area here on the West Coast.
Great. Does anyone else have any comments on that? Go ahead, Franz.
I would say that, you know, the province of Quebec, we're a world leader when it comes to renewable energy with Hydro-Quebec, not just on the power generation side, but energy management side as well as on batteries. I mean, there's a pretty large joint venture between Hydro-Quebec and Sony on production of batteries. So we have one of the probably most underrated battery technology and IP portfolio here in the province of Quebec. So, you know, in terms of renewable energy, this is not a problem for the province of Quebec, I have to say. On the flip side, when you look at renewable energy, it's not just about energy generation. It's also, what do we do in terms of energy management? How do we become more efficient? How do we become more sustainable And certainly the province has been investing quite significantly in looking at alternative sources of energy generation beyond water or hydroelectric, looking at recycling, generating energy from recycling, recyclable materials, and more sustainable means.
Great. Jordan, do you have any thoughts on that, or do you want me to move on?
Why don't we move on? Thank you.
Okay.
Well said, Franz.
Another question we have is another big part of advanced manufacturing industry in Utah is with unmanned guided vehicles. Can you please tell us about the importance of advanced manufacturing and defense in Canada? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Okay, go, Franz.
Since I work in the autonomous vehicle industry, I mean, you know, clearly, of course, this is an area that's of great importance for Canada in general, but also for the province of Quebec, for Montreal. It's a big opportunity. We have a super cluster that's called Propulsion Quebec. Really, our focus is not just about autonomous, but it's essentially how do we enable a sustainable, long-term deployable transportation ecosystem that includes air, on wheels, and on rail. And so we have you know, significant efforts on electrification, on shared mobility, on reducing the carbon footprint, and also making it more sustainable in general. So, you know, and also we have significant university research in that sector as well. More recently, we've got several local companies that have actually won major programs internationally on electrification as well as automated vehicle.
That's great. Anyone else have any comments? I love these super clusters, by the way. I think they're fantastic. Is there anyone else who has any comments on that?
I want to add a comment. I think in British Columbia, unfortunately, it's not an area I know a lot about, but there is a lot of research going into unmanned aerial vehicles, and particularly in relation to how it supports British Columbia. And so this is specifically in the areas of forestry management and, you know, kind of in a timely way, wildfire management. So both how do you use autonomous vehicles to help you better understand your forests, to manage them, so mapping them out, looking at plant health, you know, trying to manage inventories, etc. But also when it comes to wildfires, how can you essentially help the people on the ground get a better understanding of how fires are moving, where the fuel is, as well as even beginning to replace a lot of the air support that forest fires use with autonomous vehicles and drones rather than, you know, helicopters and planes.
I love that. That's great. Jordan, do you have any thoughts on that? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Thank you.
Okay.
It's not my area.
Great. So a lot of our advanced materials for artificial and robotic arms and limbs in Utah. Utah is one of the first movers in this space and has phenomenal prosthetics. What's been your experience, if at all, in this industry, and do you see any possible desire for collaboration? That might be more of like a healthcare or life sciences, but it's really more advanced materials in terms of, obviously, the production of that, but would love your thoughts on that if you have any.
Well, maybe I can comment, since I'm on the board of University of Montreal, so I would be remiss not to talk about, you know, I mean, University of Montreal is really well known for its, you know, medtech research and its university hospitals. And so there's been a lot of research and investments that have gone into the advanced prosthetics, but also in how do you use technology and artificial intelligence to do more advanced research to and to use that in helping and assist individuals with better robotics, better solutions. So lots of research have been done in that field. How do you combine advanced robotics, advanced developments in AI, and in surgical procedures, leveraging the full gamut of machine learning and robotics?
That's great. Do you think they would be interested in some sort of collaboration with some of our manufacturers here who do that, or does that make sense?
There's no question about it. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the university has a fairly established collaborative program. And
Great.
so therefore would be more than happy to put in contact.
Thanks, that's great. We also have a really large outdoor products industry, as does Canada. We're known for our carbon fiber frames and our bicycles that are some of the most high-tech out in the market. We also have incredible ski companies that have some of the most advanced manufacturing processes as well. What do you recommend a Utah company do to find distributors in their industry in Canada?
You know, I mean, we have really good established networks of whether it's through Export Canada or the different provinces, Export Quebec, and I know Export Ontario does have. I'm not familiar, Mark, with with BC as much, but there's you know, I would say the first point of contact would be to connect with the local Utah Canadian government agencies, and they typically have a ton of resources that are accessible. Beyond that, if you're really looking for specific regions, you know, like for instance, there's Quebec International or Montreal International here in the province of Montreal. That's their responsibilities to enable these collaborations.
That's really great.
I would certainly support that, Francis. I think there are some great success stories based in Quebec. Bombardier in particular has a phenomenal array of different.
What was the last one you said, Jordan? I didn't hear
Bombardier.
you. Bombardier.
Of course. You know, they're in aerospace. They're in trains. They pioneered the SeaDoo.
Right.
They have a broad range of innovation and materials technologies that they've been using for a long time. And there's a hub of manufacturing in southern Quebec, likewise in southern Ontario. I think Toronto Global would have a pretty good handle on who to work with or seek out in the Ontario area. And because we have a wide range of manufacturing processes and capabilities, potentially even for prosthetics, going back to the last question, there's a lot that can be found here in a variety of industries.
That's great. Going back to sort of a defense related question, one of the things that we also do well sort of in the advanced manufacturing area is armor, both personal and armed vehicles. We do a lot here on that. And is that something that would be of interest, do you think, to the Canadian government? I mean, this might be more of like a defense question, but since it's under the advanced manufacturing group, I don't know if any of you deal with a defense department or anything like that, but I'd be curious.
I haven't been a part of the defense industry, but I have worked in the Canadian steel industry, and of course, the Canadian steel industry has some great advantages over others in the worldwide scale, just because all the raw materials are in Canada. Canada Steel Town, where I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, is sitting right on top of a perfect transportation route for all the key ingredients to arrive lakefront at the tip of Lake Ontario and go straight into the blast furnaces as a starting point. So there's a substantial size primary industry there providing steel, and it's an industry that continues to be very successful to this day.
Great, thank you. Let me see. Okay, drones. That might be Franz. That might be you. Sort of unmanned. So drones. That is something that we do a lot with here as well. Is that something that, I mean, I guess it's sort of unmanned vehicles, unmanned flying vehicle, I guess it's sort of similar that way. Is that, one of our companies here, Fordham, that we do a lot with, helps sort of protect airports from, attacks, explosives they're able to bring down safely, things like that. Does the Canadian government work with only sort of internal companies on defense, or do they work with, we have a big defense, clearly a big defense area here, or do they work with other companies outside of Canada? How does that work? Do you know? Yeah, no, actually
they work with, I know, because we bid on a couple of projects against external companies. So
okay.
In that sense, the Canadian, obviously on equal footing, they'll always prefer a Canadian company, but the reality is that for the most part, it's an open bid project with open to any innovative companies.
Okay, great, Perfect. Let me see if there's anything else that's come in on our sessions here. Okay. Is it possible to connect to a great university? Sorry. Okay, I think some are more specific for the whole group, so we can get back to them. I think we're wrapping up here. Are there any other comments that any of the panelists would like to make before we wrap up?
Well, maybe going back to one of the things that I did not mention with respect to the greater Montreal area, it's a big city that is spread around. It's fairly concentrated, but the geography is quite big. And the advantage to that is that you have access to an incredible diverse city, but with huge landscape for expansion. So the crown around Montreal, the manufacturing crown around Montreal is quite unique in that sense, because you have access to all modalities, from waterways to trains to planes to highways. It really makes it quite unique. And then I would say there's one advantage, that we're the only city in North America. You could say we speak equally French as well as equal English. And that duality of language is actually quite unique in the sense where it gives us access to a market that North America usually does not have such privileged access, which is the French-speaking market.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And for those of you who are interested in the supply chain breakout session or the technology and entrepreneurship, we have our esteemed Paul Campbell, who will be leading the moderation panel for supply chain. And of course, David Smith, our fabulous Canadian consulate, for the person from Canadian, sorry, I can't speak today. A main contact from our Canadian consulate will be leading the technology and entrepreneurship. And we are so delighted they'll be doing that. And we will look forward to, it's still not too late to sign up if you'd like to sign up for that as well. Thank you all so much for your help today. And also I want to thank Franz Kolb from the, GoEd, who's been very helpful in preparation for this as well, who knows a lot about advanced manufacturing in Utah, and really appreciate all your time. And again, if anyone has any individual questions, feel free to contact me directly and I will be happy to connect you to people as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.